Scott?
Yeah, how are you, Jeremy?
Just being boring. What are you doing?
Being boring.
You know, staying out of trouble. Are you freezing out there in Alaska?
Oh yeah, it's getting colder too. This weekend we're supposed to be below zero for our highs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so hey, tell me again. I think I'm developing Alzheimer's here. What did you say you do for a living?
I'm a police officer.
You're a police officer. Okay, and how long have you been a police officer for?
Well, about 21 and a half years here in Anchorage, and then I was a cop in the Air Force for a little over 7 years. So.
Oh, you were?
About almost 29 years.
So quite a few years. Now, I don't think I've ever asked you when we talked each day. Are you on your own, or do you have a family you're taking care of?
Okay, so this is like a super, super warm lead, like a super hot. I mean, I don't even think it's a lead. I mean, it seems like they've spoken prior. I don't know if this is like a second call or what this is. But I guess that's the reason why. I mean, he opened up very, very, very different, like very, very atypical. Meaning, like he opened, oh yeah, just being boring. Like, I mean, not that that's bad. Like it's a little low energy, a little neutral. It's not like the typical sales. Like, oh, what's going on, man? How you doing? But they're like, it's definitely better than what I've seen. The only thing that's just a little confusing is there's just no agenda, right? There's no frame to the conversation. So the point of the conversation today is to help us figure out where you're at now, where you want to go, and understand if we can help you get there, right? I mean, 9.5 times out of 10, people are a sales rep should do that at the beginning of a conversation, right? The only reason why I would say not to do it is if you're doing like B2B and like someone's pitched like 100 times a month and they know it's a sales call. Yeah, you want to smell a little bit different, but there was just no agenda. He just went from like typical, traditional sales guy rapport where it's like, oh yeah, being boring, how's the weather over there? You staying cold? Or to then just like, cool, and what do you do for work? Which also is it's a very poor opening question, right? I mean, it's not going to open the doors to many other questions. It's going to be very specific and hyper specific to what he does for work, and that's it. But again, if it wasn't someone super, super familiar with him and someone super, super warm, I mean, that's just a horrible question to ask from the jump.
I have a wife.
A better question, just so you guys understand, to kind of give you guys value here, is, if he's selling sales coaching, which I believe is what he's doing in this case, it's like, so, Scott, what are you doing now with sales? Where are you at now in your sales journey? All right, it's a broader question that's specific to sales that'll open up either, if it depends on how you frame your calls, if your framework is current state first, if you do future state first, whatever that may look like, it'll open up the door for more questions to correlate towards that. Like if you're just opening up a question that starts with like, okay, cool, what are you doing for work? The questions are going to revolve only around work and what they're doing for work, and that's it. And it's just not helpful to the conversation. It's not helpful for like the opening of the call. It's just you're starting off on the wrong foot.
I have 7 children.
Holy cow. What does your wife do for a living?
She just picked up a job with Apple doing online customer service in Japanese. She's a Japanese national.
Oh, she is. Okay.
Yeah.
So this job that you've had, do you like what you're doing for a living?
Oh, I love what I'm doing.
What do you like about it? What do you enjoy?
Well, I have been fascinated by the street gang lifestyle. Japanese national.
Oh, she is.
Doing online 7 children.
Holy. Are you on your own, or do you have a family you're taking care of?
I have a wife and I have 7 children.
Holy cow. What does your wife do for a living?
She just picked up a job with Apple doing online customer service in Japanese. She's a Japanese national.
Oh, she is. Okay.
Yeah.
So this job that you've had, do you like what you're doing for a living?
Oh, I love what I'm doing.
What do you...
I think I understand why he's asking these questions, but it almost makes zero sense. Because again, if this wasn't somebody super, super hot, and I'm talking like this is like beyond hot, like this is someone where like Jeremy could be like, like literally he's like just saying those things, like, oh yeah, well, like, and asking malarkey throughout the conversation, and this guy would be like, yep, even if it made zero, it's just he's that hot, it's just ridiculous, because he goes from, okay, what are you doing for work? And then, are you on your own? Do you have a family? This and that, blah, 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 blah. And then, what does your wife do for work? And then, do you enjoy your job? It's just very sporadic. Like, you want to think about sales like dating. If you're on a date, you're like, okay, cool. So you open up a conversation. Oh, well, yeah, where are you from? What do you do for work? Oh, yeah, I do this, 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 this. Oh, okay. And your mom, are you on your own? Do you live with your mom? Like, what does that look like? Like, yeah, I live with my family. It's almost like you're almost prompted to be like, well, why do you ask that question? And then you're like, okay, cool. And then do you enjoy your job? It's just like all over the place. Like, what are we doing? Right? But a typical date would be, okay, what do you do for work? Oh, yeah, I work at Starbucks. Oh, how long have you been doing that for? Right? You're kind of going down this rabbit hole to go a little bit deeper. Oh, yeah. Is that local to your area? How long have you been doing that? Like, 4 years, 5 years. Okay, are you enjoying your job? Right? So it makes more sense. The questions need to correlate. Just like dating and sales are very, very similar. And so if your sales conversation doesn't flow, and again, this is like a horrible example, honestly. Like, reviewing this almost is, I'm not going to say it's invaluable, but it's just, you're reviewing someone who's so bought in. And honestly, it even sounds like he's like, I can't tell if he's like a customer already or what this is. It's just very, very, very unique conversation. It might be staged, to be honest. But regardless, if they weren't bought in, right? If you have somebody like a regular prospect, someone who's even like kind of warm, they're going to be like, these questions don't make sense. They're going to feel like consumers understand and they feel these things. When you're on the other side of this, right? You're having a regular conversation. It feels normal when it flows. But when it's just like question, random questions, just questions being asked just to be asked, just think about how that would feel for you on the other side. You'd just be like, what do these questions have to do with anything? The whole point of the sales conversation is to get emotional buy-in to what you're actually selling, right? So it needs to feel right. And you can only feel things by what you're thinking, right? What you think then ends up being the emotion you feel. Okay, you can only feel what you're thinking. That's it. But what Jermey's doing right now is going to take him the further. It's just like this guy's answering with like his pea brain. Like, he's answering just on autopilot. Like, oh, well, this and that. Like, there's no emotion involved in this. And so if you don't get that emotional buy-in, they'll never compensate logically for what you're selling. And that's the biggest difference. This is why, like, this, if you saw this and you think this is freaking amazing, like, you're deceived. And you're looking at somebody who's super, super hot. Like, this would never, ever work on a colder prospect.
What do you like about it? What do you enjoy?
Well, I have been fascinated by the street gang lifestyle, and really? I have been able to accomplish training and expertise.
Plus, even if we go all the way back, right? Just really, really think about it, guys. There's no frame of the conversation. There's no understanding of what this conversation is for, how it's going to work, what's going to happen, nothing. And so if you have no idea what this conversation is for, and then someone pitches you at the end, and there was no clarity from the jump, it could just be deceiving. Right? This is not a B2B sale. This is a B2C sale, a business-to-client sale. Some people hop on sales calls, and they don't know they're going to be sold. And if they're not told they're going to be sold, it's going to be very, very confusing. So it's just all these questions being asked just to be asked for no freaking reason. Right? There's no correlation to any pain, goals, whatever. This is just random. It's just random, sporadic. Right? I mean, maybe he'll tie it in, but also then what I think is going to happen, well, I don't want to give my assumption of what's going to happen. Let's just watch it, and we'll go from there. But this is just, if this was a traditional sales call and it wasn't Jermey Miner selling this, and it's you as a regular sales rep and you're selling a regular prospect, this is not good.
That field and become the foremost gang expert in the state of Alaska.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
And so I do training, I do validations, I'm a court expert, witness. I just love that kind of work.
You do. So, I mean, to me, it sounds like things are going fairly well for you. I mean, is there anything you would change about what you're doing if you could?
Well, last April, they closed down the gang task force, and I've been moved back to patrol.
Okay.
And there have been a series of shootings and homicides involving gangs, and I'm a little frustrated because
what do you mean by frustrated?
Our administration has decided we don't have a gang problem, so they're not doing anything to address it.
Has that had an impact on you?
I'm telling you, this guy was not as hot as he was and so ready to buy. You guys would trust me when I tell you, you would see the other side, and the person would be super frustrated from this conversation already. He tried to cut him off when he's like, frustrated? What do you mean you're frustrated? Frustrated? What? And the guy didn't even acknowledge it. Like, you do not need to interrupt people. Let them finish, and then you can touch on that. That's totally fine, but there's no need to interrupt anybody. That is fundamentally incorrect. Nobody likes that. Let them finish, and then ask the question.
Well, it has. It's
In
been
what way?
stressful. I've had a lot of news reporters that I've known over
Okay.
the years that have asked for my opinion, and
Okay.
when I've given my opinion, I've been on the wrong side of,
Okay.
the administration and things
Oh,
like
I
that.
see. So as far as you start,
And then he did it again. In what way? And the guy did not even acknowledge it. I'm telling you, if this guy was not super hot and warm, he would not buy. Which I don't even know if he ends up buying. I really don't know. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't post this if he didn't buy. But there's no need to interrupt. And even like the okay, okay, the active listening stuff, like that does not make someone feel heard, right? Staying silent and the quality of your question after shows that you're listening. The okay, 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 that's, it's make-believe stuff. It's fluff. No need for it.
your own business, and maybe you could tell me just so I can kind of see the rationale. But besides some of this, these changes in the, where you're working at in the administration, I guess what's the main reason why you're, looking for your own business rather than just finding a better type of job?
I have always kind of wanted to be on my own. I want to be my own boss.
Okay.
I don't want to
Why-
have to answer to somebody else's ideas of what I should be doing.
Why now, though?
Why now?
Yeah.
Because I think after, 51 years of life and working
Okay.
for 30 plus years for other people, I'm ready to be on my own.
Okay, time to make a change, possibly.
Yeah, time to make a change.
Now, hey, before you found us here with and everything, were you out there looking for, businesses you could start to make, to do these things, or what were you doing about finding your own business to be your own boss?
Well, I have actually explored opening a restaurant, cooking Japanese ramen.
Okay.
I have reached out to a couple of franchises. One being a
Did you actually start one of those?
What's that?
Did you actually start one of those, or just look at it?
No, I just explored it. The
I
the
see.
overhead that was required was beyond my means at the time.
Well, let's do this. I guess just to see if what we're doing here would actually work for you. But, besides you wanting something where you can, be your own boss.
As a viewer, guys, if you guys think this is good, I need you to tell me why you think it's good, okay? But second to that, I'm confused, because this just feels like random bits and pieces of information being compiled for absolutely no reason. It just does not make sense to me. It's just information. Like, just I can see Jermey's trying to push him in a specific direction to get specific answers from him by the questions he's asking, but it feels very scripted. It's questions being asked just to be asked. Jermey's actually not really listening to him. He had like one or two decent like lines of questioning that went a little bit deeper, but everything else has been super surface level. Like, there's no pain. Like, we don't understand like the real root of pain. We're 4 minutes in discovery, so I don't want to say that's bad, but he could have asked such better questions, touched on so many other points if he just started off with a stronger, broader question. And if he actually just takes the time to listen to this guy, honestly, this guy doesn't need a whole entire sales call. This guy probably could be sold if you ask him like 2-3 like hard hitting questions, right? Where it's like, okay, cool, where are you at now at sales? He would have opened up so much about whatever it was, and then okay, cool. Well, how soon were you looking to get started with something like this? And like yesterday, tomorrow, or whatever it is. And it's like, at that point, if Jermey just pitched, because he's so convicted and he believes in Jermey so much, because letting the guy interrupt him and all this stuff, like, trust me, regular prospects will not allow you to do that. They will feel disrespected. They will get frustrated. This is just not a common call. This is so atypical. I'm really starting to feel like this is just a scripted, staged call, just because it's very unrealistic. If you've taken at least one sales call, it's not going to be like this.
Something where you're on your own. What exactly are you looking for, here in your business? What would be like your ideal criteria?
Well, I want to be able to work from home.
Okay.
I want to be able to set my own hours.
Okay.
I want to be able to achieve or exceed my current amount of income.
So more money, right?
More money, absolutely.
Okay.
I watched my dad work for 40 years as a dentist.
Okay.
And then his practice burned down, and the only thing he had
Right.
for retirement was the insurance settlement.
Okay. What about this? And I think you know a lot of this because you've gone through, you've gone through like 5.5 steps or something. I've had you gone through, not quite all 6, but what if you could
Correct.
do a business where, you would work from your home like you had mentioned,
I'm
and you
gonna
would
give him the benefit of the doubt because I'm about to shit on him.
mainly work off like your computer, your telephone that you have. Now, you're not going to have employees per se like a traditional business does, but you
Correct.
are going to have others, let's say assisting you in running your business. And I'll give you an example of that.
Is the guy sleeping?
If the business resonates with you here, I'm going to be the person that does work directly with you. I didn't know if you're aware of that.
Okay. No, that sounds great, actually.
Well, unfortunately, you get stuck with boring old me. So I do that actually on a one-on-one basis for a lot of reasons. Okay, the main reason is to make sure that when you're working with me that you're actually making profits from what we're doing. You're making a sustainable income, but I'm not going to be considered your employer. Would that be of interest to you?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Sales fundamentals. More questions, less statements. I don't know what the point of that statement was there. Like, there was no value in it. Also, I mean, the dude literally said, he's like, what are you looking for in the business? He's like, oh, whatever he said about his dad, whatever. And then he said, at the end, he said, I saw my dad work for 40 years and then retire and just have the insurance claim or whatever, whatever it was. Like, dude, that is such a deep point, and he just literally like threw out something so important and so close to his heart, and Jeremy didn't even touch on it. It's like he's not even he's not listening to him. What Jeremy did by just like, oh, would you be interested in this business and that in that business? Like, people see this stuff and think that this is good, but dude, like, Jeremy is trying hard to make sure that this guy understands his program and what he's getting into. He's not trying hard to understand the prospect. Right? If I would have heard that whole thing about his father, I would have been like, oh. Okay. You mentioned that thing about your dad. Why is that important? Right? Something like that. Or, a little confused there, Scott. What does that point about your dad have to do with anything? And so I just don't want to end up like that. Whatever it is. I guarantee that's what it would have been, right? Because he asked him, what are you looking for from us if we started this business together, like what we want the business to look like, whatever it was. And then he mentioned his dad, at the end of that, which is it's an important thing to address. It is, because there's pain involved in that. I promise you there is. It's almost as if someone's like, oh yeah, I've been trying to get in shape for like 10 years now, and then my wife's threatening to divorce me, and my kids don't even want to take pictures with me, and you're just like, cool. So when you come in the program, we're gonna you just totally just step over that. Like, dude, someone just shared something that's so important to them. Address it. He does not feel understood or heard. I promise you. Poor example of sales.
That completely.
Yeah, it's going to be like a partnership you'll have directly with me if you would like that.
Absolutely.
You're okay with that?
And dude, like, no fucking shit, this guy wants a partnership with Jeremy. This guy is so damn warm and hot and ready to go with Jeremy. Of course he wants a relationship. Of course, like, this does nothing. I promise you, it does absolutely nothing, right? And look, I am on the pinky of Jeremy's finger is probably as much recognition and as famous as I am, and me and Alex, we've been running this business for almost a year now. right? But we do have trust and conviction in our students. They trust us. They love us, right? We provide great service by all means. But at the end of the day, and I'm telling you, like, I'm not, nowhere near Jermey Miner's level of exposure, but I would do 0.5%, 1% of what he's doing here. If they already have the conviction and belief in you, you don't need to do this. Like, this just makes it weird. It really, really does. Because this guy already wants to give you money. He does. You could, honestly, guys, if you see this and you start doing this with people who are ready to go and work and want to work with you, you can de-sell them and sell them in the opposite direction. This is just, like, this is ridiculous to me.
Well, and a little bit more about my background, just real quick.
Right.
I have a master's degree in management.
Okay.
I almost achieved a master's degree in Homeland Security.
Right.
The program got changed a little bit, so I wasn't successful in completing that.
Right.
I taught for 4 years at Charter College as an adjunct professor teaching
Oh, wow.
criminal justice.
Okay, so you've done quite a bit. Hey, Scott, can you hold on one second?
Sure.
Hold on just 1 second. You guys notice I'm using this pen that's like 50 cents instead of my $1,500 pen or $2,000 pen? Crazy. He was on mute, by the way. What do you guys think so far? Okay. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's something that he can do to help him get him where he's wanting to go, but let's find out. I mean, I really don't know. We got a few more questions for him. Scott, are you still there?
Yep, I sure am.
I apologize.
No, that's fine.
Tell me about this income, though. You had mentioned that you wanted to make more money, and I've never been involved in the type of work you're doing, all that stuff. But I've had some family members in the police force as well. But as you know, like you said, when you're working for someone else, sometimes you're, let's say, fairly limited on what they're going to want to pay you.
Correct.
Without that lit there, what would you want to make here in your business here? I mean, what would be like your ideal income annually? What would you really want to make?
Dude, I'm telling you guys, it blows my mind that people are paying so much money because they think this is world-class sales. I'm telling you, okay, so Scott, the prospect, is responding how Jermey is asking these questions. A question like this with so much fluff, the context. So think about it. If I ask you, yeah. So I just want to understand because I don't really know if I know it's a little personal question, but I want to make sure that this makes sense to you because at the end of the day, if we don't know how much you're making, then realistically we can't kind of create this plan that's going to make sense for you. So just realistically here, like what's the goal, or the ideal number you want to be making in the next year or so, right? Like versus. Okay. And what's the goal? How much do you want to make? Which one hits harder? And people will reciprocate how you ask the question, they'll reciprocate it in their response. Meaning, it's mirroring. They will say, "Oh, yeah, all this long-ass question with a bunch of fluff." They're going to give you an answer with a bunch of fluff. Versus if you're like, "Hey, and what's the goal?" $30K a month. They'll give you an answer just like that. And they're like, "Well," and then if you do the other one with the fluff, they're like, "Oh, well, I'm a little unsure because there's so many numbers I could think about. I just don't know what's realistic. And so I want to make sure that I'm not shooting too high, too low. Maybe like 30, but maybe 15. And so they're super unsure. But it's just because how you are asking the question. Just shoot it straight. I promise you, you will get the answers you want. Just ask the freaking question. There's no need for all this fluff, man.
Well, I mean, I've always dreamed of being able to make in excess of $250,000 annually.
250. Now,
Yeah.
hey, between what you and your spouse make together now, how close are you to 250,000 a year?
We're at about 180.
Okay, so you're about a little bit over halfway there then.
Correct.
75, 80%. So if you stay in that job, and Scott, like I said, just be completely realistic with me.
Sure.
But realistically, how many years would it take you before you were making just yourself $250,000 every single year?
I couldn't achieve it.
Why?
So Jeremy's trying to build this gap with him, all right, trying to make him realize that, where he's at is so far from his goal. He's actually not that far from the goal. Again, very surface level questions. If someone tells me, okay, I want to make this much money, so $250K for the year, how'd you come up with that number? Why that number? Because some people don't even know why they're even selecting those numbers. They're just kind of throwing numbers out there, right? And they just don't know. And so it's like, why? How'd you come up with that? And then we get a deeper reason behind all those reasons, right? And maybe the number is actually higher, and you can build the gap even further. Because I might say, oh, 250K, I just saw it on Instagram, and I just thought 250K was a good number. Or they'd be like, oh, yeah, well, actually, I want to be able to buy this and buy this and buy that. It's very specific. And you might be like, are you sure 250K would allow you to do that? And they might be like, oh, well, maybe not, right? Or maybe they need a lower number, and they're just shooting very unrealistically, right? But again, you would never know unless you ask. Why? How? How'd you come up with that, right? But regardless, it does still feel like Jermey is forcing this guy to like just go down a specific direction. People run from the things that chase them, okay? And so if he's like, oh, well, how long would it take you to get there? Would it be possible, or whatever he asked, in order to hit the 250K? And then he was like, it won't be possible. Again, if this is any other prospect, they're like, dude, I know what you're doing here, man. They're like, yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it. Or like, oh, dude, maybe I even say like, oh, maybe I could hit it if I just did X, Y, Z. And it could shoot you in the ass or shoot you in the foot. I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, like this, these are just such poor questions. This is not a conversation. This is just not at all how a sales call should flow by any means. Like honestly, I'm almost disappointed. I've never seen a live sales call from Jermey Miner ever, and I just think this is just poor.
Okay.
But this is what 99% of sales reps sell like. I promise you. This is the reason why. This is what sales rep thinks is the standard, or this is what they think world class is. This is not. This is the furthest from it.
Why?
Because there's just not enough hours to work to make that level of income.
Let's say that we got you up to $250,000 a year here. What would you do with it?
Well, I would want to set myself up with investments such that I am not going to have to worry about my income in retirement.
That's important to you.
I think that's the most primary one.
Okay.
Secondary to that is I want to make sure that all my debt is paid off. I then want to help. I would love to help my children with education.
Okay.
And my wife and I, we want to travel.
Do you? So you've been able to do those things. I mean, what would that do for you personally?
Well, I've done a lot of stuff.
If you've been in the sales space even for a little bit, I'm sure you've heard that question. Trust me when I tell you, prospects have heard enough of that. Like the amount of reps that I've had under me who will ask that on a call, and then the actual prospects will either hang up, laugh, get super uncomfortable, super close, because it's so many sales reps have been through Jermey Miner's program. Like from 2021 to like 2023, Jermey Miner ran the space. That's the honest truth, right? He was, and don't get me wrong, at one point NEPQ was great, but at the end of the day, like this has become so saturated, and consumers have progressed so much, and the sales reps are just staying stagnant because they just don't know what's next. This is why I promise you when I tell you, the sales industry will shift to a more authentic approach, and it will be scriptless. And if you can start that now, you're 6 to 12 months ahead of everybody else. Promise you, trust me when I tell you that. I promise you guys, that is where it's going.
Speaking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that self-actualization is something I want to achieve. I want to be able to do what I want, when I want to, how I want to. And having that income structure behind me to allow that is important.
How would it be different, though? I mean, you making that money, how would your life be, let's say, maybe, different than it is now?
Oh, it would be stress-free.
In what way?
Right.
All I can tell you guys is like the absolute, like, flawless, perfect 10 out of 10 prospect. Like a layover sale. Like this is not traditional sales calls.
Oh, I have an Excel spreadsheet, and I use Quicken, and I am constantly worried about where the money's going to go, how I'm going to pay off this bill, how I'm going to achieve this retirement level, how am I going to get my kids through school? I mean, that is a huge stressor in my life.
How long have you had this stress in your life?
My entire life.
What's it doing to you?
Oh, it's creating all kinds of medical problems.
Is it? In what way?
Right now, I spend 3 days a week going through various physical therapy and whatnot. I go to the chiropractor 3 times, massage, I do acupuncture, I
Okay.
do, all kinds of stuff to try and maintain some semblance of sanity.
Can I ask you something else here, Scott?
Sure.
And by all means, I don't want to offend you when I ask, because I've enjoyed our conversations we've had each day. But what are you going to do here if nothing changes? If you just stay in this job you have now the next 5 or 10 years?
I think if things are laid out properly, if I am able to manage my investments and stay in the job I'm in, I should be able to retire at age 55.
Are you willing to settle for that?
No, absolutely not. That's why I'm going through this program. I know that there is the ability to achieve something better.
So it's important for you to do something then.
Oh, absolutely.
So finding a business, is it something you're looking for now, or I mean, when do you want to find a business to make more money?
Right now.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because based on what you've told me here,
now that we're getting into the pain, I mean, it's great that we're doing that, but one, super late in the conversation, super late in discovery, but also it doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel like it does not feel like he cares. Genuine. It's not coming from an authentic place. And I don't think it takes a rocket science to see that, or a rocket scientist to see that. Jesus Christ, all over the place. But anyway, it does not feel authentic at all. And so, okay, what would that do? And why that? And then it's just, it doesn't feel real, right? And whether this is a staged call or not doesn't matter. Like, this guy does not care for the prospect, and prospects can feel this. I'm telling you guys, if this guy was not super, super ready to go, he will not buy. He would not. And this is just such an unrealistic situation, such an unrealistic sales call.
what we're doing might actually work for you, because you're saying that you want to find a business where you can make more money. You had talked about $250,000 a year, and right now there's been some changes in the administration, your work, and because of that, it's caused you to feel a little bit of stress sometimes.
Yep.
Okay. This is what I do. So this is basically how it's going to work for you. Now, you know some of this because you've gone through, like I said, you're about halfway through step 6. But like you read on there, I have the business here. I started doing this type of business just, like a normal member like you about, 8 years ago. And my first year, I think I sent it to you, but I made a little bit over $600,000 my first 12 months. Are you okay with those numbers?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, like you read, I make 4 times that amount per year now, but that's what he did the first year. Now, really what that means to you is that you can do the same thing. There's really not a difference. You can work from home like we do. Now, obviously, you have to start kind of part-time until you're making more money than your job. Then you won't have to do that anymore. And the reason why I told you that, in our business model, like you've been reading so far, we have a system that you'll follow, okay? 4-step system where the phone sales team, and you haven't learned this yet all the way, but the phone sales team will actually call all of your leads that we help you set up, and they will actually make the sales for you, the license sales for you. So because of that factor alone, it means virtually anybody can run the business now. And that's going to basically allow you to have a business, but a business where you can get your income, up to this range, this $250,000 range. But like you had also said, be able to have more time to travel with your wife, be able to help your kids out, but also be able to reduce some of the stress you've accumulated on your shoulders. I mean,
Absolutely.
Does that feel as though it might be maybe what you're looking for in a business?
Absolutely.
Why do you feel like it is, though?
I think the one thing that really strikes me more than anything else is the ability to be my own boss.
Okay, that's
Because
important.
I know you're still going to be a mentor, and I have certain steps I have to follow.
Right.
But it's still up to me how much I put into it and how much I get out of it.
Very good point. Now, tell me this. So I've had you. So here's what I want you to do. Did you get on the JT to Bolt training call today?
No, I missed it. I've listened
killing
to the archive, though.
Oh, what did you learn?
Well, I think that there's just a whole lot about the what are the words that I'm trying to say here?
Still doesn't feel genuine. It really doesn't. Like, oh, it just almost feels like it's like I don't want to, not mocking him, but it just feels like he's just being silly. I don't know. It just doesn't feel genuine at all.
It's all about how you set yourself apart.
Okay.
I think that, the attitude,
Sure.
the mindset, being able to think of yourself as the winner, as the achiever,
Right.
rather than allowing somebody else to dictate what your level of success is going to be.
Yeah, a lot of members would say that for sure. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go through the rest of step 6. So there's a video down at the bottom of step 6. I want
Okay.
you, it's about an hour and a half long, so you'll need to dedicate some time. I'm going to keep you busy.
Okay.
So either today or first thing in the morning, make sure you go through that. I want you to be on the power-up call tomorrow. Now, I'm probably going to have to set a time with you. Like I said, I'm down in event training right now. There's, I don't know, like 160, 170 people here that we're training how to run the business, kind of like you're learning right now. So now you're Alaska time, so I'm in this island, I don't even know what it's called, like Carousel or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you look it up?
I think it's called Curacao.
Carousel, okay, thank you. So I'm down in this island, and I won't be back until Friday. So it's Atlantic Standard Time, so I think I'm like 5 hours ahead of you. So it's like 10:20 at night. So
Okay.
I can probably, are you working tomorrow?
No, I'm off this entire week. I don't go to
Oh, you
work
are.
until Saturday night.
So I can probably touch base with you at about, can we do maybe about 8 in the morning your time?
Let me see.
It'll be about
I
one
think I
night.
actually have to be at physical therapy at 8.
What time do you leave? 8:30 in the morning your time. These people heard our entire conversation.
Very good.
Are you okay with that?
Oh, I have no problem with it.
So we're right here. I'd unplug my laptop. I'm up here on stage. I'd unplug my laptop and kind of walk you around and say hi to everybody, but then I'll probably lose the rest of my training. So we're here at night. We're still learning at 10:30 at night. Does everybody want to say hi to Scott and give him a big round of applause?
I'll tell you what the call felt like. It felt like Jeremy was trying to run this call in a way that gratified his ego and almost like show off more so than it was for the benefit of the prospect and making sure he felt understood, felt comfortable, and trusted in the product that they were going to get. But also I think he knew that the guy was so warm and hot that he really didn't care. But I am almost like 99% sure this was just staged. So overall, I mean, like, you could even see there's a video on YouTube here. I'll probably link it below, of an example of scriptless selling, and even in that video, that 3-minute, 5-minute discovery that you guys can see, one of our sales reps who works for Andy Elliott, how he went about it, it's 100 times better than this. 1,000,000 times better than this. Like, this is just a poor example of sales. Like, if this is why I think the industry has shifted so much, because sales reps think that this is the standard. This is as high as it goes. This is a ceiling. But this is, I mean, dude, thinking about like the pain, the goal, right? You're helping these people understand the pains and goals they don't understand that the ones that don't even really. Sorry, you're helping these people understand the pain and goals that they don't realize that they have. And so in these cases, like, if you don't do that for these prospects, they're never going to buy. And so Jeremy did absolutely nothing here. Jeremy did nothing for this prospect. He was just a typical sales guy. Asked questions just to ask questions, then asked for he didn't even sell him anything. Genuinely, there's nothing else. There's nothing else. He doesn't pitch. Doesn't ask for sale. I don't know what this is. It's just a fake call to show people like how a scripted sales call is supposed to look. I mean, this is if I don't know how much these folks paid for this mastermind, but I mean, just genuinely speaking, like, this is no value. People were sleep. He literally called him like, no sleeping. Like, come on, guys. This is like a 2 out of 10. Just a laxed performance. Mediocre. Just not good. Not good. It really shows the standard for the remote sales space, or just a sales space in general. It just needs to be higher. So, hope this is valuable for you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.